Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to whoever it is in the world you are streaming here on Twitter, as well as those of you on YouTube. Another edition of Q&A with Wab. Wednesday, November 19th. It is 6:18. Look at that. Eastern time. Is it Eastern Standard Time? I don't know what we do during daylight savings, if it's Eastern Standard Time or just Eastern Time, but we're here regardless. Let me get so I can see your guys' chats. Skip is in the building. Skip is in the building, for those of you that are curious. Give you guys an opportunity to join. Mike Conley into the starting lineup tonight for what was I going to say? Minnesota, Dante DiVincenzo injured. All right. Okay, StreamYard is working. Good. Okay, I'm here. It's a little chilly, so I'm not in my usual apartment decor. But I am here to discuss anything that is on your guys' mind. I do have a wager that I placed tonight. You want to talk real quick before I get to the chat. So I have gone through the 4 big CLV spots of the NBA season thus far, right? Those were the Lakers in Portland, Golden State in Milwaukee without Giannis, the Pistons versus the Bulls, all of which not only lost against the spread, but lost straight up. Well, we have the biggest CLV spot of the season tonight. It is the Miami Heat hosting a Golden State Warriors team that has no Steph Curry, and now no Jimmy Butler, no Draymond, no Kuminga. They're going to punt this game, or so you think. This same exact spot has lost in its first 4 opportunities of the season thus far. So if you are on that number way in advance, God bless you. I am not. In fact, I am on my wager of this evening is on Bam Adebayo's rebounds under, as well as the points too. But I do like the rebounds. It's 8.5. Okay, it looks like it's down to 7.5, but I'll just book just to show you. Well, I'm not signed in, so that's unfortunate. I need to sign in. Give me a second. Log in. ProfitX. Every time I have to do the code to get me in. Okay, now I'm in. Okay, much better. Sorry, catching up. What's happening, people? What's up, chat? Talk to me. Any questions you guys got? I'm here to answer them. Just so you can see. Bam Adebayo's under. I'm under 8.5 rebounds. Location. Oh my God. First the code, now the verification. Hit this button. Okay, it's not letting me verify, but we'll just use the screen for the time being. All right, it's always something. First chat I see. Wow, my main account got banned. Can I hit a follow on this one, please? I have you got to speak English in the chat. That or Japanese, please, are the only 2 I understand. Mitch Goody says, think Dillingham is long in Minnesota. I am hopeful, but can only fire up the AAU highlights so many times. You know who needs a point guard? Obviously, Minnesota. Dallas waiting for Kyrie to come back. Houston, if they want to have a table setter, but James Harden may end up somewhere. I don't know what the Clippers are going to decide to do since they don't have their pick. It's going to OKC. If they suck this year, what's the point? Now, if they were to trade Harden and get back into this draft through another team's pick, that is certainly something that can be done. But will James Harden be a part of this team if the Clippers just continue to spiral out of control when Minnesota is probably a James Harden away from feeling like they're legitimate championship contenders who were just in the Western Conference Finals? We know OKC can certainly OKC can say that they're head and heels above them, even though they just played them not all too long ago. with that said, James Harden, if you all remember, his best position is the table setter and the point guard. Kyrie and Kevin Durant in Brooklyn said we want him on the ball. Him right now with the Clippers without Kawhi and Chris Paul and Bradley Beal. It's James Harden back on the ball. This is where he's at his absolute best. So I want him setting the table. I want him, as opposed to being the ISO combo guard scorer. Those are not the James Harden. That's not the James Harden I want. If I want to be taken seriously as a championship contender, but I'm fine with him setting up others for sure. Am I in a log cabin? Yeah, I'm in the middle of the woods. Vegan Barbie must be new. I know you've been in here in this chat, but anyone that watched Radio Roulette back in the day or Late Night with Wob will recognize this exact room that I'm in. This was the COVID room. I'm in the middle of the woods in Connecticut, back home for Thanksgiving. So this is going to be the background for a little bit. Can always tell. There's always ways to figure out who's been around for a couple of seasons and who is just joining us. Not an insult, by the way, but yes, this is a cabin in the middle of the woods in Connecticut. Thoughts on LeBron returning last night? So 12 assists, not bad. Does it feel like, I know it's his first game back, so of course he's going to play limited minutes. His shot's not going to be there because he's not in rhythm. You can't replicate game speed no matter how long he's been around, 23 years. But it sure feels like with the ascension of Austin Reeves specifically as a guy that just has to have the ball in his hands. That guy is too good at scoring not to have him be the second highest usage percentage player on that team. And considering Luka Doncic is in the middle of his prime right now, it sure feels like LeBron is going to become the connector, the creator for others. I wouldn't say Portland Carmelo Anthony, because that's more of just a catch and shoot guy. That's not what LeBron does well. But something tells me his points per game is going to be a career low. He may be okay with it. That's ultimately what we need to decide. Is LeBron cool with being the guy who is just got an alert? Zion Williamson is a game time decision tonight. Is LeBron okay with being the guy that's at the beginning of the shot clock throwing frozen ropes the way he did to Gabe Vincent in the corner last night, but doing that for Luka, where the play design is for Luka and Reeves, not for LeBron to ultimately get the ball to score? Is he okay? Is he content being a distributor more than a scorer? Because when you're not a scorer, that implies you're not the guy anymore. It's LeBron James we're talking about here, people. Would he be okay with that? And if he is, it sure feels like the Lakers will reap some benefits because they have guys in Reeves and Luka who are certainly worthy of getting those shots down the stretch, as we have enough of a sample size now. Does that answer your question? What's going on, chat? Dex Rex, thank you. Thoughts on the mic? Yeah. My microphone appears to be working fine. Is it? Let's see. Let's try. Did this work? Am I more clear now? I changed the, I forgot to change the setting to, I'm probably coming through a little bit more clear. Has it been wrong this whole time? Have I been on my MacBook speakers? I'm going to, hold on. I'm more clear now? Okay. I forgot to change the setting. Okay. Okay. Thanks, guys. All right. AJ Pilot, thoughts on the future of AI and Elon's comments today? You're going to have to educate me on what was said. That is a loaded question. The future of AI, please explain. You're going to need to get a little bit more specific. Am I watching college at all? Asks Spidey Stowe. Caleb Wilson and Chapel Hill. That is the best player the Tar Heels have had since Tyler Hansbrough. Easily. Better than Harrison Barnes. Better than, let's see, who are some of the other big names that came through? Baycott. Baycott was never an NBA prospect like that his freshman year. Daron Sharp, honestly, was bigger. Even Walker Kessler at the time, before he transferred to Auburn. Who else? The Kendall Marshalls, the Joel Berries. Okay, RJ Davis, no. Caleb Love. This is, gosh, yeah. I would say Caleb Wilson's the best, the most talented basketball player the University of North Carolina has had since Hansbrough, for sure. He's got to be number one. Like, if he's not number one, then who is? I haven't seen enough of it, but my goodness. This is the room famous for the Game 5 Nets versus Bucks rant. Can you remind me of what that rant was about? Is there a dramatic enough card chase, asks Mitch Goody, that could pull you away from a first-round NBA playoff game? Card police chases will always be streamed, as long as the only, if I'm on Sirius XM, I'm not leaving that to do a chase or chase after, but everything gets priority. Card chases priority. My Blazers are sink all of all injuries. Yes, they are. And the team is not performing offensive. Honestly, their offense has been considered better defense. They're supposed to be. Right. They're supposed to be built defense first. They rate individual unders and it's more individuals who makes one team and the team and individuals. Devin asks, hey Rob, can I request a few words on Harrison Barnes being the most wonderful person and basketball player to walk the earth? Okay. Since he's a former Tar Heel, I will. I don't speak nicely about players, but Harrison Barnes has always meant well. He ran into an unfortunate situation with the Golden State Warriors in 2016, where he was thrown under the bus. But remember, he was the guy last year for the Spurs that ended the perfect record for the Warriors with their lineup that they debuted after Jimmy Butler. They won. I forgot who exactly was in it, but Jimmy, Steph, Draymond, so on and so forth. I'm sure Moses Moody may have been in there too or something. It was Harrison Barnes who hit that game winner buzzer in the Chase Center last year. He's always come through with big moments. Remember when he was sitting on the bench, he got traded mid-game? Harrison Barnes has seen and been through a lot of shit, man. Both positive and negative. He is as experienced as they come. And he does seem like a wonderful person. He's very professional. That much I know. What's the game of the night tonight? Asks Dylan Holly. Let's take a look. Let's take a look-see, shall we? How do I, should I make this a little bigger? Will that help? It's so weird how... Okay. I don't like that it's showing the whole screen. How do I get it to crop? How do I crop it? Is it possible? We're just going to have to live with it. Thankfully, you can see all my... I got a shit ton of tabs open. Okay. Tonight's games. Charlotte, Indiana. No. Toronto, Philly. No. Houston, Cleveland. Yes. Golden State, Miami. Definitely no. Especially considering Jimmy Butler is not going to be present for the revenge spot versus his old teammates and foes. This money line, by the way, it peaked as high as like 420. It's now down to 365. Maybe people are buying back off of the CLV, or they feel too burned in the past that this is the exact CLV spot, which has lost straight up 4 times this year. Golden State Miami should have been one of the games of the night. And oh, by the way, people, I am fascinated to see if the NBA is going to give a participation player policy violation to the Golden State Warriors, because this same scenario against the Miami Heat, guess what happened yesterday? The Cavs got one for playing 2 games in Miami. I believe it was a Monday and a Wednesday. They played their starters on Monday. They benched everyone on a Wednesday. And they still won the game, but they benched everyone on a Wednesday, probably thinking, well, if someone paid to see Donovan Mitchell on Monday, or they're in Miami to see the Cavs, we have fulfilled our responsibilities with our starting 5. And they still won. And they had the Toronto Raptors at home in Cleveland the next night. So they had a couple of built-in excuses, and they still got hit. It was not a nationally televised game. Also, no ESPN, no Amazon Prime, no NBC. And here's Golden State tonight, right here. Played in Orlando last night, second leg of a road back-to-back, not nationally televised. Will they too be hit with this penalty? Now, the difference was the Cavs told us this was for rest. We're not even going to try to list a couple of injuries. Tonight, it's illness. It's Steph's dealing with an ankle injury, I think. But there's a couple illnesses. There's Jimmy's back. Can we can't question whether these guys are hurt or not, because I think that's unfair, but man, it sure lines up. And we know Draymond never plays when Steph is out. So Steph is first out, Draymond is next, so on and so forth. And then you know what? After that, why would Jimmy go out there with the JV team against in that hostile atmosphere? That sure seems like a Jimmy personality that he would love to do that. He grabbed all the, speaking of things Jimmy formerly did, the Minnesota Timberwolves, when he grabbed the third string unit, went up against Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins and embarrassed them in that practice and had Rachel Nichols waiting outside. It seems like something Jimmy would get up for, wouldn't it? Like, oh, no Steph, no Draymond. I'm going to beat your ass myself tonight. But we've been deprived of that. And this went from probably the game of the night to yet another example of an NBA team that's going to be without their stars. And shout out to Tom Haberstroh, who charted and documented all of the stars who have missed games to start this season thus far. A star is defined as a player that is all NBA or all-star within the last 3 seasons. The percentage of those players who are playing in games this year is 56%, when the average is usually hovering around 90 in the middle of July. Or July, my brain is mush. In the middle of November. I was on a red eye last night, people. I didn't get any sleep. I was watching all the games on the flight. I was on the fastest red eye in the history of LAX to JFK. 4 hours and 20 minutes from gate to gate, 4 hours and 20 minutes, which is practically Concorde speed. There was no traffic on the ground because it was so late. It was also a Tuesday. So no ground traffic, no runway traffic. We just landed JFK, wide open parking lot of spaces. It was so easy. But we continue on. Wizards, Timberwolves, no. Nuggets, Pelicans, no. Knicks, Mavericks. Cooper Flagg's questionable. Jalen's questionable. Even if Jalen Brunson comes back, you're going to assume he's on a minutes restriction. And the Bulls and the Blazers would have been great in the 90s. Great finals in the early 90s between Clyde and Jordan, but not in 2025. So if you're asking for game of the night, Rockets, Cavs, baby. 2 championship threats right there at full strength on national television. I'm crackling. What's going on? I'm crackling. I'm not crackling. I'm listening to myself back. What are you guys talking about in the chat? What's going on? Thank you, Helwick, for at least giving. I'm listening to myself back. What are you guys talking about in the chat? See, this is why. Like when you guys audio, you need to tell me all these fucking tech problems. And then I go in there and fix it. Now I got to stop the show to look. It's fine. Thank you, Helwick, for putting a timestamp in there at least. It's always something, isn't it? Why can't this shit ever just work? StreamYard, OBS. I'm on a new internet connection tonight, too. I've got my microphone in a shoe. I'm hungry. Jay Zoo asks in the chat. Well, now I'm going to have to just periodically check if this is microphone in a shoe. Okay. What was I saying? Now I lost my train of thought. Don't even get me started with OBS. It's just at this point, it's a complete coin flip if OBS and StreamYard work properly. I don't know what to tell you. I switched it from Google Chrome to Mozilla Firefox. It's solved the sharing screen glitch that was happening. Okay. Braun's not going to be eligible for awards, so it feels like he could be okay with being a connector. Who said that? I like that take. ILE Comp. Sorry, I can't pronounce your full name. That's a good angle because Braun realizes, you know what? All NBA is unrealistic considering the amount of time that I missed and that I'm probably going to need to miss for the rest of the season. I'm not going to qualify, so I don't need to go out there and keep doing 30, 10, and 10 every night, which requires some serious usage. He can be a little bit more apathetic towards these regular season games. He can take this back seat because he knows my contract is expiring. This is Luka's team. It's all pretty obvious. So I'll be here if you need me. I'm still LeBron. I can still do really cool shit, but he doesn't need that overdrive until the playoffs. That's a sharp angle. Like if I can book action right now, if someone at ProfitX is listening to me, will LeBron James make all NBA this season? Has he ever had a non-all NBA season that he? Helwick, you might know this. If we could put this on the specials somewhere, because I know they like to do these specials, NBA specials. Here it is. Oh, here's a couple. They just refresh these. Will Anthony Davis get traded before the NBA trade deadline? Well, considering Mark Cuban just said no, you should probably get in there and bet no. Jimmy Butler or Steph Curry have higher regular season free throw percentage. Okay. Will Victor Wembanyama win MVP and Defensive Player of the Year? Well, I mean, he's not going to qualify. I went in there and sprayed on Chet Holmgren, Evan Mobley, Amen Thompson. I was thinking about Dyson Daniels too, just to bet the field against Wemby, considering he's probably not going to qualify, and you just bet all those numbers before the market moves. Jay Zoo in the chat asking your thoughts on the current pace, teams pressing full court having more impact on players' health. All right, so let's talk about this for a second because this is a big topic and there's such a generational divide on this. So there's a stat going around the internet about how players are running more distance than ever this season. They're running at a faster speed than ever. You know, the sports science suggests the game has never been played this fast before until you realize the pace on average of this season is barely on par with many years from the 70s and 80s. They played just as fast. Now, I understand they didn't have 7-footers who were playing point guard and shooting threes. And again, the distance traveled. It was a different style and a different game. But physicality was enforced a lot different. And, you know, the show that I do with Antonio Daniels, he and some other guests that we have on, we have this conversation all the time. I remember asking Antonio Davis about this as well. We had a couple of the Davis brothers on from the Pacers in the 90s. And first of all, they say it is much more taxing on the body to be battling down low than just running 17s. Oh, hold on, timeout. We got Cooper Flag out tonight, out for Dallas. Hello. Cooper Flag out. Okay, let's get this game up. We'll get back to this in just a second. What does this mean for the markets? Can we beat them for points? Okay, we don't have word on Brunson yet, right? Okay, the Knicks are favored by 8. No, thank you. Points. So who's gonna get those point guard minutes? Do we buy low on D'Angelo Russell? Is he even in? 14.5. No, thank you. This feels like a Najee Marshall game. If it would let me verify my location, it would be nice. Please verify. Okay. Maybe I'm in a state now that doesn't permit this. Doesn't permit me to book action, but okay. I do like Najee over. This means we're going to get some more Najee on the ball. Whenever they're missing Daniel Gafford or Cooper Flag, like Najee can be their emergency catcher of point guard position, and he does initiate and create a lot with that second unit. He brings the ball up the floor. I would love this over. I love Najee Marshall overs tonight. Okay, back to what we were discussing. If it's point PJ Washington, the Knicks are going to cover that spread. All right. Helwig says it's not a pace thing as much as it is an angles thing. There's more motion and sharp cutting on a single possession than ever. It's not just running up and down the court like they did in the 60s. That is, well, 60s I can't speak of, but that certainly doesn't apply to the 80s. 70s with the ABA and the NBA, I'm a little bit more vague on, but the pace of play it's a different style of pace. I will agree there because it was a different game in general. But so no, I asked Antonio on the Sirius XM show, and he's like, I was always much more tired when having to battle down low versus running a greater or longer distance. Right. I would much rather do aerobic activity of endurance versus having to fight someone down low in a wrestling match. That was always the most tiring thing. Okay, so we have that factor plus everything I say, it's like, well, they do that today too. You're acting like they don't fight in the post. No, they absolutely do. But where I stand on all of this is the advancements in recovery technology, medicine, health rehabilitation. When we see all of these guys getting as hurt as they do with all that's available to them versus in the past when some of these guys got a cigarette and a shot of whiskey, it does question, like, why were they able to play 82 games back then with a lot less quality amenities versus today where they could be transferred between cities in chambers like they're in some sci-fi movie? How does that, if they weren't doing that, would they be getting hurt even more? It just that there's such a disconnect there that these are the most finely tuned athletes in the world and they're getting more hurt than ever. That does not ever make sense to me. And is it because teams don't practice anymore? Because that's a fact. They don't practice like they did back in the 90s and 80s during training camps where it was 2 weeks of hell. They did 2-a-days. They were bleeding from all orifices of their body. They wanted to make training camp as difficult as possible so that when you get to the actual games, this is going to feel like, a layup, like a cupcake. It built camaraderie. But now, is it because they're getting paid so much money? You want to protect those investments? Are the medical staffs and front offices and general managers, are they optimizing their rosters, only allowing these guys to play once every week, twice every week, so that they are available when it matters the most? Otherwise, it's my head, it's my job that's on the line. I propose thinking about it in the form of a pie chart. If you have 100% equity available, who determines and at what percentage if stars are going to play that night? Okay. Is it 33% the player, 33% the head coach, and 33% front office / medical staff? The answer is it's different for every single case study. Because if you're a star, if Antonio was listening or watching this right now, he would say, this is a conversation in which role players need not apply. Have you ever heard of a role player load managing before? Not really. They can't afford to. But stars can, because their contracts are guaranteed. They know that they got their playtime regardless, that they're going to be getting the ball in the playoffs when it matters the most. So why do I feel the need to go out there and risk myself for a game that doesn't have as much value perception-wise as the ones in April, May, and June do? Okay, so now let's change this. If it was a Steph Curry, if it was a Luka, if it was a Kevin Durant, if it was a Giannis, I would say the equity percentage of that pie chart goes from 33% player to about 75%. And then you split the remaining 25 between the coach and the training staff and the general manager, which is very few seats in the boardroom. And what sets Antonio off the most is that these star players can say, I'm playing tonight, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. I dare you. They can do that every single night if they choose, but they do choose not to. They say, you know what? I am kind of sore. I am kind of tired. And it's the second game in 3 days. I am going to take tonight off. Okay, I'm with you. I sign off on this. I collaborate. That's what has the older generation of players so perplexed and confused, is the star can absolutely say and look at everyone in the locker room and say, we're all playing tonight. If you're healthy, if you're not actually injured, we're playing tonight and we're going for it. And the coach would have to acquiesce, regardless if he thinks it's more optimal that we sit out this second leg of a road back-to-back so that we're ready for Friday night's big game against Nikola Jokic or something, right? It is the former player's belief that Antonio was in the league for 13 years. He's like, if star players want to play, everyone's going to play. And that's just not the case in what's happening right now. So when these guys don't play, they're in street clothes. They lose the rhythm of the in-game experience, which you cannot replicate. They're not practicing hard. They're hardly training because they're traveling between cities, and they're not doing it at the hotel unless they're rehabbing. And then you snap your fingers and you say, hey, star, go in there and play 40 minutes tonight after you just rested for 2 days and you haven't been through anything close to an NBA workout. You can attempt to, but let's just be realistic here. And then they end up going out there for those 40 minutes and they get hurt. But why do they get hurt if they're so rested? Chicken or the egg, right? Would you rather be in rhythm, always chronically sore, but feeling as if I'm in game mode every second of the day? Or you're only playing once or twice a week. You got your legs up, the lazy boy, the proverbial adult beverage. You're watching your team play. You're not locked in. And then you go out there and try and match that energy, and your body is rusty. I don't know. I'm not a sports scientist. I didn't play in the NBA. The most I can do is speak to these individuals, which I have put in a ton of work these past couple of months, because this conversation continues to resurface and everyone has a different take on it based on their experience. But I speak to mostly former players and coaches on the show, and this always comes up. So my thought process is there's got to be some middle ground between what Pat Riley did to the New York Knicks in 1992, where he sent them down to Charleston, South Carolina. And this is the book from Chris Herring called Blood in the Garden. It tells the story of what Pat Riley's direction was at this training camp, was essentially breaking the pool cue like a scene out of The Dark Knight, dropping it on the floor and saying, I'll deal with whoever brings me this pool cue in its entirety, meaning fight to the death, and I'll deal with whoever wins. And those New York Knicks teams went and killed each other for 2 straight weeks. But he did that because if you all survive this, you will come out as brothers. You will be prepared for the most vigorous, strenuous tests the NBA has to offer, and it's going to seem easy compared to what you went through here. That was as extreme of putting NBA players through basketball boot camp as it gets. And then the opposite side of the spectrum is what we see now in 2025. You do media day, we'll do some walkthroughs. Just make sure you're ready for game time opening night. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure your body is ready. That doesn't seem to work either because we are at a historic rate of players, star players playing those minutes getting hurt. So what's in the middle? How do we get to the middle? Nobody's figured that out yet. Because even the good stories, well, you know what? Someone has kind of figured it out. It's OKC. I was going to say Detroit. Detroit's a great story because they have Dennis Jenkins come in and take advantage of that opportunity because Cade was out. Their entire team was out for like 7 straight days, but they're so deep, the third stringers are making the most of it. That's not the same story here. Someone like Oklahoma City, who sets the NBA record for double-digit victories in a single regular season, they take care of their business in the first 25 to 30 minutes. They can afford to rest their stars and their starters, and that's why they looked as fresh as the Indiana Pacers come finals time last year. They had the least amount of injuries, right? They earned the right to be able to optimally use their players while keeping them in rhythm, other than the injuries that occurred to J-Dub or Chet Holmgren that keep them out for a week. They were on the floor and competing. What else? Sorry, that was a little. I'm. That's a really long-winded way of me answering that question without actually giving an answer. And I'm not giving an answer because I don't know, but there has to be something to the older generations playing similar pace numbered games, despite the game being different now and has evolved in different ways. There's got to be, how were they able to play 82? Was it a mentality? I don't want to come in here and say, oh, the young kids are so soft. Like, that's some shit you would just say at the bar or in a barbershop or something. I'm actually trying to speak about this eloquently or quantify the resolution. If you're going to do the whole outside of basketball, like Bill Russell was out there playing 82 games or however many games was necessary. And he wasn't even allowed to sleep in the same hotel as his teammates in some cities because of what was going on in the United States at the time. So it's like, it's all just different generational stuff, man, different eras. Like, no one nowadays could ever compare to, what he and that Celtics team went through. So that's how I approach it. And my answer is based on my extensive experience with former executives, players, and coaches that I continue to inquire on this particular topic. And they seem to have that all in common, not like we did it, so they should be able to as well. I love my guy, Eddie Johnson, because he's always got time for Twitter. He's like, man, we played 5 games in 6 nights more times than I can count. I was there. I was hurting. We played. Like, these kids should be able to do it nowadays. So I want to respect his point of view. Meanwhile, there's an active player today that's saying, grassroots AAU. I've been playing what feels like professional basketball for 10 straight years. We played 9 games in one day. Now I get to the league and I'm asked to play these 40 minutes, and my age is 20 years old, but it feels like I'm 40 because of the miles on the odometer. That should be, that's different than the process of getting to the pros that maybe someone in the 70s and 80s and 90s had to do. So I never know if we're going to get to an answer that can apply to all and satisfy all generations on this topic. Makes sense when you watch the games. Even the current game is so much more physically taxing than 10 years ago. The amount of movement on defense and sharper. Okay, but it's not just caution holding players out. We're also getting more long-term injuries than ever. A lot of that is from soft tissue injuries, which come from, of course, overuse, not being managed properly. See, Carly, you're an OG. the video setting. Vegan Barbie came in here and said, "Where are you? A log cabin?" I'm like, "You must Vegan Barbie. I appreciate you always hanging out with us, but you're new. If you don't know this background and this setting, you are not in the trenches of some COVID rewatch streams of old games, taking phone calls until the wee hours of the night when the sun would start blasting my face as it rises." Skip is in the building, by the way. I can potentially go get Skip if you guys are interested. You can put a little doggy logo in the chat if it you want me to stop to go get him. Mitchell Robinson says Habino is 70% front office, 30% coach. I would normally agree with you in 0% player is what that implies. I would normally agree with you, but man, he was huffing and puffing. He was grabbing his shorts after those 4-minute bursts in the game against who did we just lose to? Miami. He's out there. I'm fine with his minutes restriction being around 20 because he doesn't the way that he plays and how much he's doing the battling down there, especially on the glass. 20 to 25 minutes feels appropriate for him. I would love to get 40. I find him to be one of the most influential players in the Eastern Conference, one of the most important, not the best, obviously, but the way that he affects the game, I would love to get more minutes out of him. Danny says the skill and athleticism is through the roof, very taxing on the body to keep up with the precedent. Jesus says, I've never seen this many calf strains. Maybe teams it could lead to the Achilles. No, that is, by the way, anytime there's a calf strain with Wemby, with AD, the calf strain is what happens before the Achilles rupture. Kevin Durant in Golden State. That whole series was every day refreshing. What is the training staff saying about the calf, the calf, the calf, the calf? Anthony Davis is being held out by Patrick Dumont. It's got to the ownership level because in fear of the Achilles rupturing. If Anthony Davis, of all people, were to blow out his Achilles, it's over. It's over for someone like that. Modern medicine is great, but go back and look how many days it took Kevin Durant to recover. I understand there was COVID and whatever, but this is like a multi-year injury. I don't want to hear anything about Halliburton and Tatum, these guys coming back this year. That is as bad of an injury as it gets, and I hope all of them take the time necessary and don't try and do something heroic because most of these players come back as a shadow of their old selves, with the exception of very few. Nico in the chat says the body types are different these days than the 90s. Most players today play like the primary scoring options did in the 90s. There are no players that play 90s power forwards or 90s centers today. In 2025, everyone is Allen Houston. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more interchangeable parts in today's game, but do not underestimate the athleticism and the size of some of those guys. Just because they played a traditional five, Hakeem Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing, they weren't out there chasing guys around the perimeter. Go back and look at someone like Bill Laimbeer's 3-point percentage. Like the big guys shot threes back then. It just wasn't in the same quantity because the offenses were being designed differently. And don't let the amount of threes and how free-flowing the game is now influence you to think everyone in the 90s was just standing around and fouling the shit out of each other. That is not the truth. Vegan Barbie says, feel like everyone from top to bottom is just too scared. Like they drill into their heads that every time they're on the floor when it's not 100% necessary equals automatic injury. And that belief then plays out, reinforcing it equals more fear on an endless cycle. You're saying this shit's contagious, right? Teams are playing the precautionary and then they end up getting hurt. And yeah, I see why they do it because guys are getting hurt a lot. Ja Morant has one as well, doesn't he? And if you're asking for an actual answer from me, who said that in the chat? Danny. I do believe this starts at the grassroots level. I think AAU has gotten so out of control now, both with, first of all, how much it costs and these daily tournaments where these kids are playing 7-8 games in a single day. I think that is creating scar tissue at a young age when these bodies are still developing as teenagers. When they get to the NBA and they're still growing into their bodies, by the way, because they're between 18 and 21 years old, something tells me that if there's a sports scientist that I could probe to break open a body like a game of operation, tell me what you see. Is that wear and tear that they're putting on their bodies at that young age nowadays different than in the past? Okay, I see 2 doggy emojis in the chat. I don't think 3 doggy emojis. Well, I'm just past my time here. Shout out to ProfitX, by the way. For those of you curious if I have any action tonight, I am under BAM. I'm on BAM under 8.5 rebounds. I have it at minus 110 because it's minus 210 now that it has been announced he is on a minutes restriction tonight against the Golden State Warriors. We'll see how this goes. I will be keeping my eye, because this is the first CLV bet I didn't make this year. You could have beaten the line by 7, 8, 9 points. Watch Miami win this game by 500. That's, of course, what's going to happen. They're the fastest team in the league. Golden State has been on this road trip forever. This is the game someone finally punts, and the third stringers don't make the most of their opportunity. It was due to happen at some point. It's going to happen tonight because I didn't bet it. Well, yeah, but baseball, Coach Mike, it's like asking kids to throw curveballs. You're not supposed to do that until a certain age, right? When the ligaments are still developing. Should I make a call? Should I make a call to the other room? Does the chat want me to make the call to the other room? Because if I say a certain 4-letter word, someone might come running in. Should I summon the fur missile? Let's see what I can do. Hold on. Let me open the door and call. Is there a fur missile in here? Skippy! Skippy, come in! Come on, Skippy! Come on! Come on, Skippy! Look who it is! Look who it is! Come here! Say hello! Sit down. Oh, such a good boy! You're such a good boy. Who's a good? Oh, there's the anxious yawn. Who's a good boy? And that's Putty. Hi, Putty. Come here. Say hello to everybody. Say hi. What's up? You're as beautiful as ever. We went for a nice walk today. He greeted me. He greeted me at the train station. Oh, give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. Oh, sperm is so pleased. Okay. Thanks for coming in, saying hello. He'll be in my next video a little bit later. And maybe Cat too. All right. It's been a pleasure, everyone. Enjoy the action tonight. Who's a good boy, Skip? Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? He's such a good dog. The eyes just tell the whole story. What are you sniffing? It's almost my dinner time, by the way. Yeah, right. It's almost dinner time. Sit. You're so pretty. Show everyone how pretty you are. Okay. Well, now he's just going to be a dog. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back a little bit later with the next post-game video. Thanks for coming in with the questions today. That was a quick 50 minutes talking about the... Is that a cat? Putty. Animals everywhere. Putty, come here. Come here. Come say hi. Come on. Come here. Come here. Okay. But cats don't come the same way that dogs do. Anyway, thanks for coming with the questions. That was a fun talk. And look forward to doing it again on Friday, my friends. Enjoy the games tonight. Can I pick you up? Will you let me pick you up? Come here. Come here. No, come here. Oh, you animals are so jealous. Here. I know how to get your attention, cat. Say bye, Skip. Say bye.